Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at AI and kids.
Okay.
And I think a lot of parents out there are wondering, like, how is this going to change things, with ChatGPT and all these other new tools like GROK and Gemini.
Yeah, definitely a lot of buzz out there.
Definitely. And, one of the sources we're looking at today even says that if your kid isn't using AI, they'll be left behind,
Right.
which is a pretty scary thought.
It is for parents.
Yeah. But instead of panicking, let's kind of break it down and figure out what it really means.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's really easy to get caught up in all the hype, but at the end of the day, AI is a tool.
Right.
It's not a magic solution. And our deep dive today is all about understanding how to give your kids knowledge about AI,
Yeah.
but also help them develop these human skills that are always going to be important.
Okay, so this source lays out the potential benefits and risks in a pros and cons list.
Good.
So it's like a roadmap to help us navigate this new terrain.
Exactly. And on the plus side,
Yeah.
AI can unlock some really incredible learning opportunities for kids.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, imagine instant access to a world of information,
Right.
personalized tutoring that actually adapts to their needs, and even virtual labs where they can experiment with complex scientific concepts.
That sounds pretty amazing.
It is.
It's like having a personal tutor and a state-of-the-art lab all at your fingertips.
Right.
But the source also raises some red flags, too.
Sure.
Like, what about this idea of over-reliance on AI?
Yeah.
If kids can just ask AI for the answer to any question, are they really learning how to think for themselves?
That's a great point, and it's something that we as parents really need to be mindful of.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. If a child can get an answer from AI
Mm-hmm.
without having to work through the problem themselves,
Right.
they might not develop that critical thinking ability.
Yeah, it's like relying on a calculator for every math problem.
Exactly.
You might get the right answer,
Right.
but you're not really understanding the concepts.
You're not learning the why behind it.
Right, exactly.
And this leads to another crucial point, the importance of traditional education methods,
Okay.
especially in areas like science, technology, engineering, math, what we call STEM.
STEM.
Yes, STEM isn't just about memorizing facts and formulas.
Right.
It's about problem-solving, critical thinking, and
Yeah.
applying knowledge to real-world situations.
It's like learning how to think.
Exactly. And these skills are going to be essential for them no matter what they do in the future.
Regardless of their career path.
Absolutely. Whether they're designing the next generation of AI or tackling climate change.
So it's not about replacing traditional education with AI. It's about finding the right balance.
That's the key, finding that balance.
Okay, but this source also brings up something else that's been in the headlines a lot lately, AI bias.
Right.
So it talks about how AI models can reflect the biases present in the data they're trained on.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard about this, but can you explain it in a way that someone who's not a tech expert can understand?
Sure. So think about an AI model, like a student learning from a textbook.
Okay.
If that textbook has inaccurate information or presents a biased view of the world,
Yeah.
the student is probably going to learn those biases.
Right.
And it's the same with AI. The data it's trained on shapes its understanding
Yeah.
and influences the outputs it generates.
So if an AI is trained on data that's skewed towards a particular perspective, it could perpetuate those biases.
Exactly. And that's where it's really important for parents to be aware.
Okay.
If your child is interacting with an AI that has embedded biases, it could influence their worldview in really subtle ways.
So it's like they're being exposed to a filtered version of reality and they might not even realize it.
Precisely, remember that recent controversy with Google's Gemini AI.
Uh-huh.
It generated images of a female pope and black-skinned Vikings,
Really?
which were historically inaccurate.
Wow.
And this was a result of flaws in the AI's training data.
Huh.
And it really highlights that potential for AI to present a distorted view of the world.
Wow, that's a powerful example.
It is.
And if kids aren't aware of these biases, they might just accept these things as truth.
Absolutely. And this is why it's so important to talk to your kids about AI, its capabilities, and also its limitations.
Okay, so we've been talking about some pretty heavy stuff, the potential for over-reliance, the importance of traditional learning and this whole AI bias thing.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the positives, because this source also highlights some really cool ways that AI can enhance learning for kids.
It definitely can. One of the most promising areas is personalized learning.
Okay.
AI can create these customized learning experiences tailored to each child's needs and pace.
So, like, what would that look like?
So imagine a child who's struggling with, let's say, a particular math concept.
Okay.
An AI tutor could give them targeted explanations, interactive exercises, and real-time feedback until they master the material.
That's amazing.
It
It's
is.
like having a personal tutor who's available 24/7.
Right, and it can free up teachers to focus on things that need that human connection, like mentorship, collaboration, and creative exploration.
I can see how that would be beneficial.
Yeah,
This source also mentions how AI can give kids access to resources that they might not have otherwise.
absolutely.
So, what do you mean by that?
Well, imagine a child in a rural community who loves marine biology.
Okay.
AI could connect them with virtual tours of oceanographic institutes, simulations of underwater ecosystems, even live lectures from scientists all over the world.
So, it really kind of levels the playing field.
It does. It opens up so many possibilities no matter where they live or their background.
Yeah, and this source also talks about how AI can make learning more engaging and fun.
It can, especially with STEM subjects.
Okay.
Imagine interactive games that teach kids about coding,
Uh-huh.
virtual reality experiences that bring history to life, or AI-powered robots that can help them with science experiments.
Those are really cool examples.
They are.
It's like AI could transform learning from a chore into an adventure.
It can, and that's why it's so important to approach this with a sense of balance. We need to be aware of the risks, but also excited about the opportunities.
So it's not about fearing AI or banning it.
Yeah.
It's about understanding its capabilities and limitations, using it responsibly, and making sure our kids are developing those essential human skills along with all this new technology.
Well said.
So as parents, we've got a really important role to play in guiding our children through all of this.
We do.
Okay, so we've talked about the good and the bad of AI, the need for balance and critical thinking. But what does it all mean for parents, like on a practical level?
Right.
What can we actually do to make sure our kids are using AI thoughtfully and responsibly?
That's a great question, and it's one that we're going to dive into more in the next part of our deep dive.
All right, we'll be right back after a quick break.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Before the break, we were talking about AI and, all the exciting things it could do for education, but also some of the concerns.
Right, yeah, like we're being handed this incredibly powerful tool,
Yeah.
but without really knowing how to use it.
It's like a super-powered gadget with no instructions.
Exactly. And just like with any powerful tool, it's all about how we use it.
Right.
One of the sources we're looking at today actually emphasizes that even with all this new technology, something as old school as reading is still incredibly important.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
But in a world with instant information at our fingertips and AI assistance, why should reading still be such a big deal for our kids?
Well, because reading makes the brain work in a way that interacting with AI just doesn't.
Okay.
When you read, you're not just passively taking in words. You're actively building understanding. You're making connections. You're drawing on your own experiences. You're even picturing in your mind what's happening in the story.
Yeah.
It's a much deeper level of thinking.
So it's not just about decoding words, it's about building those comprehension skills and learning how to think critically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And reading also helps develop something that AI really struggles with:
What's that?
imagination and empathy.
Okay.
When a child gets lost in a good book, they're putting themselves in someone else's shoes. They're experiencing new worlds and really understanding human emotions.
Yeah, AI can write stories and even have conversations,
It can.
but it doesn't actually feel those emotions the way we do.
Exactly. And those are the skills that will help your children connect with others, understand different points of view, and navigate a complex world.
Yeah.
It's really the foundation of emotional intelligence, which is becoming more and more important in this tech-driven world.
This source actually uses a really interesting phrase.
Oh, yeah.
It talks about raising thinkers, not just users. And I think that really gets at what we've been talking about.
It does.
We don't want kids to just passively consume information, whether it's from AI or anywhere else. We want
Right.
them to think critically about it, to question it, and to form their own opinions.
And that's where those traditional learning methods like reading, writing, and critical analysis really come in.
Yeah.
They provide that base for deeper thinking skills
Yeah.
that AI just can't replace.
Oh, again, it's not about reading versus AI. It's about using both in the right way to help kids become well-rounded individuals.
If we think about the bigger picture, it's not just about getting kids ready for jobs in the future.
Mm-hmm.
It's about preparing them for the challenges of being human in a world that's increasingly shaped by technology.
Right.
We need to make sure they have those critical thinking skills, that emotional intelligence, and the moral compass to navigate this new world.
And one of our sources today actually warns against giving kids these ready-made AI models that just spit out answers.
Hmm.
They say it's like giving a child a calculator before they even understand basic math.
Right. It's about letting them develop their own ability to think.
Have you seen this in your own work where kids might turn to Google too quickly instead of trying to figure things out themselves?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so easy these days to just want that instant answer,
Right.
but the process of working through a problem,
Yeah.
exploring different solutions, and finally arriving at the answer, that's where the real learning happens.
It's like those aha moments.
Yes,
When you finally figure something out on your own,
exactly.
there's this sense of accomplishment
There is.
that you don't get from just being given the answer.
And those moments build confidence and resilience,
Right.
which are so important for kids.
So AI can be a great tool,
It can.
but it shouldn't replace the effort and the joy of figuring things out on their own.
Exactly. So how do we strike that balance?
Right, that's the question.
How do we help our kids use AI responsibly without letting it become a crutch?
Yeah. What's your advice on that?
Well, it starts with talking to your kids about AI.
Okay.
Explain that it's a tool, not a magic 8-ball,
Right.
and that it's important to think critically about the information it gives you.
Question it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Encourage them to ask questions, challenge assumptions, and look for different perspectives.
So basically, we're teaching them to be smart about the information they're getting no matter where it comes from.
That's right. And remember, this is an ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
AI is always changing,
Yeah.
so we need to stay informed, adapt, and keep our kids involved.
This source also encourages parents and educators to share their experiences and strategies.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
So what are you hearing from other folks who are trying to figure this whole AI and kids thing out?
Well, one of the biggest worries I hear is that AI is going to replace human connection.
Yeah, that's a big one.
But I think we need to look at AI as something that can actually enhance our connections.
Okay.
So instead of just relying on an AI tutor for math homework,
Uh-huh.
imagine a family using AI together to track their budget or plan a vacation.
I like that.
Yeah, it becomes a shared
A
experience.
fun project.
Exactly. And that's where the real magic happens.
Yeah.
It's about finding those creative ways to use AI, not to replace human interaction,
Right.
but to actually make it stronger.
One thing that really stuck with me from this source is the idea that AI can have biases,
Mm.
and that these biases can show up in really sensitive areas like cultural values and traditions.
Right.
So can you give us an example of what that might look like and why it's something parents should be concerned about?
Sure. Let's say your child is using AI to learn about another culture.
Okay.
If that AI was trained on information that wasn't complete or was biased,
Right.
it might present a very narrow or even inaccurate view of that culture's values and beliefs.
So it's like looking at another culture through a distorted lens.
Exactly. And that can lead to misunderstandings and even prejudice.
And it's not just about getting the facts wrong.
No.
Imagine if an AI constantly shows certain groups of people in a negative way or reinforces harmful stereotypes.
Right.
That could really impact a child's understanding of the world.
It could. And that's why it's crucial to teach our kids to be critical thinkers no matter where they're getting their information from.
And to question what they see.
Absolutely.
Mm.
We need to expose children to diverse perspectives, encourage them to ask questions, and teach them how to evaluate information carefully.
It's like giving them the tools to break down those biases and see the world more clearly.
Precisely. And that's where parents come in.
Yeah.
We need to talk about our own experiences, share strategies and concerns so that our children can thrive in this new world.
So to all our listeners out there, we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on AI and how it's affecting kids?
What are you doing at home?
Yeah. What are your biggest concerns and what are you doing to make sure your kids are using AI responsibly?
Your insights are really valuable as we try to figure this all out together.
And remember, the goal is not to be afraid of technology.
No.
It's about using its power in a good way and remembering those core values that make us human.
Absolutely. Things like creativity,
Yeah.
empathy, critical thinking,
Yeah.
and an appreciation for the world around us.
Okay, so we've covered a lot in this part of our deep dive.
We have.
We've talked about the importance of human skills balancing technology with critical thinking and the role of parents in guiding our kids.
A lot to think about.
It is, but there's still so much more to explore.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been talking about, raising kids who are not just good with technology, but also thoughtful and well-rounded people in this whole age of AI.
It's about Giving them the skills to not just use the tools, but really understand how they work and, where they might not be so great and how to use them responsibly.
Yeah. One of the sources we've been looking at uses this really interesting phrase,
Oh, yeah.
whose brain is it anyway?
I like that.
It's talking about how much we rely on AI, especially when it comes to like shaping our understanding of the world.
It's a good question to ask, right?
Yeah.
If we're always giving our kids information that's already been processed by AI, are we kind of shaping their thoughts and beliefs for them?
It's like we're outsourcing part of their thinking to these algorithms.
Yeah, it's a little unsettling.
It is a little bit. So how do we make sure that they're developing their own perspectives and not just repeating what the AI tells them?
Well, that's where all those human skills we keep talking about come in.
Encouraging them to be a little skeptical, teaching them to question sources and to look for different viewpoints.
Yeah.
Those are the things that will help them avoid just blindly accepting whatever an AI says.
So again, it's not about rejecting AI completely.
Right.
It's about teaching kids to engage with it critically.
Yeah, to think for themselves.
So how do we actually do that?
Well, one of the best things you can do is be a good example yourself.
Okay.
Show your kids that you don't just believe everything you read or hear.
Lead by example.
Exactly. Talk to them about how you decide if a news article is trustworthy or what to believe online.
Yeah.
When they see you thinking critically, it'll become more natural for them too.
It's like we're teaching them to be savvy media consumers.
Right.
But in this world where the media might actually be an AI.
Yeah, exactly. And don't forget about the power of just talking to them.
Right.
Talk to your kids about what they're learning from AI.
Have those conversations.
Yeah, ask them what they think, what questions they have. Even just simple things like, hey, where did you get that information?
Right.
Do you think it's reliable? Can really make a difference.
It's about starting early with those critical thinking skills.
Exactly. And, this source we have also talks about parents and educators being co-learners with their kids.
I like that.
It's not about having all the answers. It's about learning together.
It's a journey.
It is. And AI is changing so fast.
Yeah.
We're all learning as we go. Let your kids know that it's okay to not know everything.
Right.
That even adults are still figuring it out.
I think that takes the pressure off a bit.
It does. And that sense of exploring together can make learning fun for everyone.
So it's less about teaching and more about being curious and learning as a family.
Yeah, exactly. And another important thing you can do is encourage your kids to be creators,
Okay.
not just consumers of information.
Creators, not just consumers.
Yeah. Whether it's coding their own little AI programs, writing stories that explore the ethics of AI, or even designing a poster about responsible AI use.
Yeah.
Those creative activities help them understand AI in a much deeper way.
It's like they go from just watching to actually being part of it.
Exactly. And remember, there's help out there.
Yeah.
There are tons of resources for parents and teachers who are trying to figure out this whole new world.
Like, where would you point people?
Well, libraries, community centers, even online forums can connect you with other families who are having these same conversations.
Yeah.
It's good to know you're not alone in this.
It really is. It's like building a support system.
Yeah. We're all in this together, figuring it out as we go. The more we share, the more we learn, and the better we'll be able to guide our kids.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
Well, it's pretty simple. Don't let fear or all the hype control how you approach AI.
Okay.
Embrace what it can do. Recognize the challenges. But most importantly, remember that the best thing you can give your child is not just the ability to use technology,
Right.
but the wisdom to use it well.
That's a great way to put it. It's about helping our kids to not just use AI, but to shape its future.
Absolutely.
Using it to build a better world.
Yeah, one that's more fair and more human.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into AI and your kids. We hope it's given you some things to talk about with your families and communities. Remember, the future is being shaped right now, and your voices matter.
They do keep those conversations going.